I hope you're all having a wonderful day and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing another tutorial using the Morphe and James Charles palette. I think this is a new record for me because I've never used one palette in so many tutorials before, but honestly I was so inspired by all you guys and all the kind comments you left on my last two videos. I know a lot of you guys are beginners and yet somehow you still felt confident enough to try those other looks out even though they're really colorful and out there. So I decided to create a more natural look for you guys, even though this is still pretty glam. It's a little bit more neutral than like hot pink eyeshadow. I made this very beginner friendly, going over lots of detail and really explaining what I'm doing. I'm also only using one eyeshadow brush to create this look. I totally remember what that was like being, starting off either in high school or middle school, even in college, just having very limited supply when it comes to brushes. So I wanted to challenge myself as an artist and create this entire look only using one eyeshadow brush, minus the one I used for the eyeliner, but it's optional. I hope you guys are excited for this tutorial and let's get started. I'm taking the shade Canvas as my starting shade. Honestly, this is going to be way too light for most of you guys. This is a great neutral base for me because I am so light right now. Another shade you might want to use is the shade Punch Me. That one works as well. Taking a fair amount on my brush to start, I'm going to place that right in the inner corner. I'm really just packing that on and tapping that. It's okay to blend this color out because honestly you won't see it in the end, and that is the whole point of using a base shade. So pick a shade that you know that matches your skin tone well enough where you probably won't see it towards the end. After that, I'm picking up the shade 518, which is orange. It might seem a little strange that I'm using a shade like this, but this is again going to be a transition shade. I'll switch over to the finished eye look and you can barely see it around the edges. The whole point of using multiple shades is you want it to transition flawlessly, so you can't really see a line between the two shades. You want to pick shades that are in a similar color range so that they will flow nicely together, which is why I'm picking 518. I also picked up a fair amount on this brush, and I'm going to start to lightly work that into my outer crease area. You'll notice when I put this down, I really start in the back part of my eye, right above where my lid is, right where my bone is, and just place that right there. Just really wiggling that side to side, not putting a ton of pressure down, and then I will start to really blend it out. With this shade, it's okay to be sloppy and to really blend this out. Again, you will not really see the shade towards the end, so if you're not like perfectly blending this, it's like totally fine. And I won't go too high because I want it to look diffused. As you can see on this side, there is a definite definition between where my like first shade was and my middle shade. So this middle shade, we're not going to really take it up super high. And if you feel like it gets too high, don't worry. You can take that first shade and blend it together. See how when I took that first shade, it really softened where that shadow is? The biggest pro tip I can give you guys is just by using multiple shades and blending them together to really create those seamless edges. Because this color is so bright, if you do have a deeper skin tone, you can still use this color. It probably just won't show as much as it does on me. It looks really bright on me, but it'll probably look a little bit softer on you guys. If that shade for whatever reason is too light, you could also go in with the shade 10% off or Code James as well. Speaking of the shade Code James, that is our next shade we're taking, and we're taking that right in the outer corner, kind of where we put the first color down. I'm really packing a lot of that on my brush and just starting to pat that in. Because we're only using one brush, it is really important that when you put these shades down, you're just pressing them into the skin in a really concentrated area, meaning that you're not just like swiping it over your entire eye. You want to make sure it's in that one little section. And because these are pressed pigments too, it's okay for some of these shades for you to go in pretty heavy-handed, meaning like you're picking up a lot of the product at first. There are other shades that are really pigmented where you won't want to do that, but with these shades, it's totally fine. So as you can see, I'm really concentrating that in the outer C. Outer C, it's kind of like a backward C, but it's just like right here. This whole section is considered like the outer C area. Like I mentioned earlier, if these shadows are looking too stark, what you can do is take the shade before that. So in this case it's 518, and I'm going to use that to really blend out those two colors. As you can see, as I turn my face, you can see how I'm not really going really light where I'm barely touching my skin. I'm not pressing into my skin either. I'm kind of using a medium amount of pressure to blend in these colors. This is definitely starting to look like my other two makeup looks, so what we're going to do is make it look a little bit more neutral now. And we're going to do that by taking the shade Mary. It's a really nice rose color. Picking up a good amount again on that brush, and you're just going to tap that ever so lightly into the outer corner. This is going to be right up against your lash line. You don't really want to go into the crease too much. You want to really tap right along the lash line. And if you notice any fallout, meaning any of the shadow falls down underneath, it's okay, we can wipe it up later. Just really want to press. So I can see I'm tapping it as opposed to blending it. Blending meaning that you're rubbing it back and forth. So that is looking pretty pigmented, but again, I don't want this stark color right here. So when there's less color on my brush, that's when I'm going to blend it into my crease area. Do this very lightly though, because I don't want the majority of this color to show through. I still want the other colors to kind of peek through. So I'm keeping this low, not up here, low close to my crease, and I'm blending it out. And when there's less product in my brush, I'll go in very lightly towards the inner corner of my eye, still in my crease. So a couple different ways you can blend and make this look even more blended is by using multiple colors that are in a similar shade range, and also using different types of pressure. If you want to create really light and soft diffused looks, you want to really use a light pressure. But if you want to look pigmented, you want to really pack in the color and press down a little bit harder. We're going to continue to darken this up, so now I'm taking the shade No Beans. And again, we're putting that right where we put Mary. Just right on top of Mary. This is the tricky part with having only one brush. It's really hard to get close to the waterline because this brush is so fluffy, but it is still doable. So again, really packing that in. And if you have more than one brush, this is when you'd want to use it. So let's just say you have two brushes, you have a fluffier one and a little bit of a thinner one. This is when you'd want to use it because easier to do this with a smaller blending brush than this one. Alright, so this is looking a little bit too sharp for me. So what I'm going to do is take that shade Code James and just start to blend it out. So for this example, I wouldn't want to take Mary because Mary is still a darker color, but Code James is lighter. And then after that, that's when I take 518, blend that out. And then of course, after 518, I'm taking the shade Canvas again, or whatever shade you used first, to blend that out again. Looks really nice and diffused. I'm just packing that shade No Beans. It's that darkest shade that we're using today. I'm packing that right in the outer corner. Now that this is more blended, it's okay to pack that darker color in and start to blend it out. But again, I'm still using a very light pressure. What you would want to do if you wanted to wear something like this to school, wanted to make it even more everyday and natural, what I would do in this tutorial is I would just take the first maybe 3 shades. You might not want to go this dark, but you can still use the same techniques and the same one brush to create an everyday look. What I would do is use one base shade like the shade Canvas that we use. It's kind of that lighter shade that we can see in here. I would take a middle shade. If you're more my skin tone, Code James would be a good middle shade, and then a darker shade like Mary just to kind of deepen it up. You could also use the shade Punch Me as well. It's a little bit more of a neutral shade. Or you could even use the shade 10% off just to make it a little bit darker. But really the key for creating looks like this is just spending some time blending and using multiple colors. 2 colors is fine if you're in a hurry and you just want to add a little bit of contour, but you want to use more like 4 or 5 if you want to create something that looks kind of like it fades out and you can kind of see multiple color groups in it. So using my ring finger, I just picked up a lot of the shade Face and went to start pressing that on my eyelid. Regardless of all the primers I've used and brushes, my favorite way to apply any sort of shimmery shades is just by using my fingers because the oils in your hands will do such a good job of picking up the color. I'm just packing this on, by the way. I'm not really blending this or sweeping it. I'm just really kind of pressing it. But I feel like by using my hands, it really makes the shade pop and makes it look really metallic-y and pretty. So regardless of how many brushes you own, I always love doing this trick. And then when there's less pigment on my hand, that's when I'll start to blend it out to make it look really soft. But I probably won't go past the middle part of my eye. And I'm not going to go up higher than that either because I want to keep those colors. And if it looks like right now it looks a little sharp, what I'll do is take that blending brush, just lightly run it over those edges. I'll even take a little bit of the shade Code James and just run that in the middle section of my eye to kind of blend together those two colors. So for this next part, you will unfortunately want one more brush. If you don't have another brush, don't worry, you don't have to do this. I just found that it looks a little bit cleaner when I'm applying false lashes. So let's just say you aren't wearing false lashes, you want to just wear mascara. This is a great stopping point. What I would do is just curl my lashes and then I would apply mascara. But since my lashes are looking a little sparse, I'm going to apply false lashes. What I did first, it's kind of hard to tell, but I applied the shade Spooky. It's that black shade, and I'll show you guys how I did that right along my waterline, basically right up against my lashes, and then I applied my false lashes on top of that. Today I'm actually using a brow brush. This is my brush I usually use for my eyebrows. I have two of these, so I used a different one on my eyebrows today. But any brush that has a nice kind of tapered point that's really thin like this will work great for this step. I'm dipping into that shade Spooky, which is the most, in my opinion, most pigmented shade of the entire palette. So you're going to want to be very careful with the shade. I mentioned earlier there are some shades that easily blend out and some that don't. This is one of those that doesn't. So make sure that you're really careful when applying the shade. What I'm going to do is just kind of start in the back. I'm going to just press that in. As you can tell, I just barely touched my eye and it's very pigmented, which is great because I feel like blacks are honestly like the hardest color to get super pigmented, and I feel like everyone's always looking for a nice deep pigmented black. Again, just lightly stamping that on. This is an eyeliner technique I actually learned when I was working at Sephora. You don't ever want to just drag the eyeliner across. Whoops, see, messed up. That's okay. If something like that happens where you can see there's a little bit of that black pigment, what I'm going to do is tap back into that face shade and just tap right over it. See, this is a good thing I messed up on camera so you guys can see how to correct it. This is one of those tricks I actually learned while working at Sephora. When you're picking up a shade like this or using any sort of eyeliner, you don't want to just sweep across the face. You want to go in smaller sections. So what I'll do is just kind of press. And honestly, it makes your eyeliner look a lot sharper and cleaner in the end when you take it in small sections. And then when there's less product on the brush, that's when I'll kind of like lightly sweep it a little bit. And I'm definitely getting some fallout with this shadow, but no worries. I'll show you guys how to clean that up. Again, just stamping that black eyeshadow. But as you can see, it looks really clean and it doesn't look like it's super sloppy. And I feel like if you're just starting off, sometimes using an eyeshadow as your eyeliner can make it look so much smoother than if you were to use a liquid eyeliner. I feel like liquid eyeliner isn't as forgiving, meaning that if you were to mess up, it's pretty obvious. Whereas with a shadow, it's pretty easy to smooth out. And to clean up that fallout, I'm taking a different brush. This is like a fluffy brush. I use this for blush and highlight. You could use any brush you use for foundation or bronzer, or even if you have the exact same brush, let's just say you only have one brush, you could use that one too. I would just really make sure that you clean it beforehand because you don't want to accidentally get this. So you can kind of see there's some brown color left over. You don't want to get that on your face. And what I'm going to do is use the lightest amount of pressure to wipe this away. See, it just comes right off. You definitely don't want to press and wipe. You want to just use the lightest, see, barely touching the face. Lightest amount of pressure because you don't want to have any sort of little speckles underneath your face. But that is it. So what I'm going to do is just pop on some false lashes, apply a little bit of bottom mascara, and come right back to show you guys the finished look. Alright, so I've added lashes and mascara. I use the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara and the iconic lashes from House of Lashes. They're honestly my all-time favorite lashes. I just feel like they fit my eye shape so well. I do cut them a little bit at the ends just to make them really fit my eye shape, but I just feel like they look so fluffy and they do a really good job of being really dramatic and nice and pretty and full without actually covering too much of the eyeshadow. So this is the finished eyeshadow look. This is just an example of what you could do with the eyeshadow. I paired it with a pink lip, which is definitely too bright. I feel like for winter, I should have worn like more of like a berry lip, but just to give you guys an idea, you could wear like a darker lip with this eyeshadow look. You could wear a bright pink lip. Honestly, you could even wear chapstick and it'll be totally fine. It's a really good natural look, and honestly, if this is like too glam for you guys, like it's too dark, you could just do steps like 2 through 3 and be totally fine. I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know in the comments down below if you've recreated this look or created any of my other looks. I love seeing them all on Instagram. Thank you guys so much for all the love and support, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!